October 12, 1942, 5:40 a.m. Fog clung to the streets of Warsaw, pressing low against broken windows and brick walls scarred by bullets. Inside the ghetto, the night had not ended. It had only thinned. Hunger kept children awake longer than fear. Somewhere behind a sealed doorway, a boy waited, counting his breaths, listening for boots. He was small enough to slip through spaces adults could not. That was why he had been chosen. His coat hung loose on his shoulders, sewn with pockets that were not meant for warmth. He had learned how to walk without drawing attention, how to look lost without being helpless, how to keep his eyes down even when his hands shook. The ghetto wall loomed ahead, gray and final. On the other side, trams rattled. People hurried to work. Life continued as if a city had not been split open. The boy adjusted his cap and stepped forward, because stopping was worse than fear. Stopping meant thinking. Thinking meant seeing faces he would never forget. A child was hidden close, quiet by instruction, not to be naturi. Silence was survival. The boy had learned that lesson early. He had watched children vanish, watched families compress into numbers, watched streets empty without explanation. He had also learned something more dangerous, that moving a single child could change nothing and everything. The guards were tired. Morning made them careless. Papers were checked, waved through, rejected. The boy's heart beat loud enough to feel in his teeth. He did not look back. Looking back would have broken him. Beyond the gate, air felt different. Not cleaner, just less trapped. The boy walked on, past rubble and posters and warnings printed in languages meant to erase mercy. Each step widened the distance between death and the fragile chance at life. This was not heroism, as it is remembered. There was no speech, no music, no certainty. There was only motion. One child moved today, another tomorrow, and then another. Numbers would come later. Survival came first. The boy disappeared into the city, carrying more than weight, carrying a future that did not know it was being smuggled past the edge of history and into the story that begins with understanding who he was and why he could not stop. Warsaw under occupation was a city trained to look away. After the ghetto was sealed, more than 400,000 Jewish people were forced into a space never meant to hold them. Disease spread faster than news. Hunger became routine. Children learned adult silence early. Rescue did not arrive as a single plan. It emerged in fragments. Social workers, doctors, clergy, couriers, neighbors. A network formed quietly, later known as Jagu. Its goal was simple and impossible. Remove children from the ghetto, give them new names, hide them, keep records secret enough to survive the war. Within this network were adults who organized routes and documents, and among them were young couriers, teenagers, boys and girls who could pass unnoticed. One of them was the boy. His exact name mattered less at the time than his ability to move. Youth made him invisible. Invisibility kept him alive. He had grown up fast. Occupation had stripped childhood of its timeline. He knew which streets to avoid, which guards accepted bribes, which buildings hid doors behind doors. He learned signals, coded phrases, pauses that meant danger. His tasks were narrow, but repeated. Carry a message, lead a child, memorize a name, then forget Italiano. The children were the hardest part. Some cried. Some did not speak at all. They were taken through sewers, cellars, ambulances, courtyards, churches. Each route carried risk. Each success increased the next danger. The boy understood the arithmetic of loss. If caught, he would not be tried. He would disappear. If a child was caught, there would be no second chance. That knowledge sharpened his focus. Fear became background noise. The network kept lists, written in code, buried in jars hidden beneath apple trees. Real names, false names, places. Without those records, the children would be saved and lost at the same time. The boy did not write the lists, but he protected them by continuing to move. Over time, the number grew. Hundreds, then thousands, not by one person alone. Vimanians connected by trust. Later, history would attach the number, approximately 2,500 children, to the rescue effort as a whole. The boy was one thread in that fabric, essential and replaceable, brave and afraid. He never claimed ownership of the number. Numbers were heavy, faces were heavier. He remembered shoes too big, coats too thin, eyes too old. He remembered promises he could not guarantee, and as deportations increased, as the ghetto emptied toward death camps, the work accelerated. The boy did not know how long he would survive. He only knew that stopping would mean surrendering to the silence the city demanded. That decision carried him forward, directly into the moment where small actions became transformation. The work changed him slowly, then all at once. At first, each crossing felt singular, unbearable. Later, routine formed around terror. He learned to breathe at the right moments, to time his steps with street noise, to speak only when necessary. Skill replaced panic, but never erased it. He began to understand the system, not just his role. Routes shifted weekly, safe houses burned out. New identities were created overnight. The boy became a moving hinge between worlds that could not touch. Inside, the ghetto time collapsed toward death. Outside, it stretched uncertainly forward. Children sensed the danger even when they did not understand it. Some clung to him. Some resisted, confused by strangers offering escape. He had to learn how to persuade without lying. He said things like, "'Tis is, I came," or "Your parents asked me to take you," or simply, "Come now." Each removal carried the weight of separation. Mothers pressed hands through cracks, memorizing faces. Fathers turned away so children would not see them break. The boy absorbed these moments and carried them forward, because dropping them would mean losing the reason he moved. As months passed, he aged without time. His body grew thin. His reflexes sharpened. His fear became disciplined. He stopped imagining the future. The present was dangerous enough. The ghetto uprising came and went in fire. Smoke covered the city. The work did not stop. It only became quieter. Fewer children remained. Each rescue felt like pulling something from a collapsing building, knowing the structure would fall regardless. At one point, the boy was stopped, searched, questioned. He answered plainly, like a child with nothing to hide. He was released. He walked away without running. Only later did his legs shake. The transformation was not into a hero, but into a function. He did what needed doing because someone had to. The idea of choice narrowed until there was only action. When the war moved toward its final year, the boy understood that survival would require forgetting parts of himself. He stored memories where they would not interfere with movement. Names became symbols. Faces became reasons. By the time Warsaw was in ruins, the network had saved lives that would outnumber its own members many times over. The boy did not count them. Count in invited grief. He emerged from the war alive, which felt accidental. The work stopped suddenly, leaving a silence louder than gunfire. He was no longer needed, and that was its own kind of loss. Only later would the world begin to ask how it happened, how children disappeared and survived, how young people carried responsibilities that should have crushed them, how a boy learned to move through hell without becoming it. Those questions point forward, toward the impossible idea that follows, where survival demanded more than courage, and secrecy met its highest cost. By early 1943, The arithmetic of survival turned brutal. Fewer children remained, and those who did were watched more closely than ever. The ghetto was shrinking, not by walls moving inward, but by people being removed. Trains left daily. Smoke replaced rumors. Silence followed inside the rescue network. A realization hardened. Smuggling one child at a time was no longer enough. The pace of deportations was faster than their success. To continue meant escalating risk beyond reason. Routes once considered desperate now became necessary. The impossible idea emerged quietly, without debate. Remove children in larger numbers, during daylight, through methods that relied on shock and speed rather than invisibility. It sounded reckless. It sounded suicidal, but delay now meant certainty of death. The boy was told only what he needed to know. Fewer details meant fewer confessions under pressure. He understood the shift immediately. His role would change from courier to escort, from shadow to distraction. He would move children through spaces where no one expected defiance. Ambulances were used, claiming outbreaks of disease. Toolboxes hid small bodies. Sewers carried whispered instructions. Churches became thresholds. Each plan relied on timing precise enough to feel unreal. The boy felt fear differently now. Not sharp, but heavy. He knew that capture would expose not only him, but dozens of safe houses, false identities, buried lists. Torture was not an abstract threat. It was procedure. He was offered a way out, a pause, a safer assignment. He refused, without explanation, not because he was fearless, but because fear had already been accounted for. The only variable left was action. One morning, he walked into the ghetto with forged papers authorizing child removal for labor inspection. The document was absurd. No child was being inspected for work, but authority printed on paper carried weight. Guards were conditioned to obey forms. A group of children was assembled. Too quiet. Too clean. That alone could have exposed them. The boy spoke softly, instructed them to hold hands, to look forward, to say nothing. He told them it was important to be brave for a short time. At the gate, a guard hesitated. The boy felt time fracture. He did not speak. He waited. The guard waved them through. On the other side, there was no relief. Only continuation. Children were split, redirected, absorbed into waiting arms. The boy moved on immediately. Success invited repetition. Each operation tightened the net around him. Patterns formed. Suspicion grew. He was followed once, then twice. He changed routes, faces, habits. Sleep became rare. Hunger, constant. The impossible idea was no longer theoretical. It was working, barely, and that made it more dangerous. Every success increased the urgency to stop it. Inside the ghetto, fewer children remained. Outside, more false names were spoken aloud for the first time. The balance was shifting, slowly, violently. The boy understood that the climax was not a single moment, but a narrowing corridor. Each step forward reduced the chance of retreat, and yet, stopping now would collapse everything behind him. He stepped again into risk, knowing the next stage would not allow mistakes, and that execution would determine whether the impossible idea became history or disappeared with him. The arrest came without warning. No chase, no struggle. A hand on his shoulder, a quiet order, weapons already drawn. The boy was taken to a place designed to erase certainty. Interrogation followed patterns he recognized. Names, routes, numbers. He gave none. Silence became his only defense. Pain followed. Methodical and impersonal. He learned how long a human body could endure without breaking language. He learned how to disappear inward, where memories could not be reached. He thought of children already placed, already hidden. He counted breaths instead of names. Outside, the network reacted instantly. Lists were moved, safe houses cleared, children relocated again. The system bent, but did not break. The boy was sentenced to death. It was announced casually, as procedure. There was no speech. He absorbed it without reaction. At that moment, survival stopped being personal. It became irrelevant. And then, something improbable happened. Bribes were offered, delays requested, paperwork stalled, execution was postponed. Once, then again. Bureaucracy, the same machine that killed, now hesitated. Time passed differently. The war shifted. The city burned again. The sentence was never carried out. The boy survived, damaged but alive, released into chaos as the occupation collapsed. He did not return to rescue work. His body would not allow it, but the system he helped sustain continued until the end. After liberation, the buried lists were recovered, jars opened. Names matched to names. Children searched for fragments of origin. Some families were reunited, many were not. Survival did not guarantee happiness. It only guaranteed possibility. The number emerged later, calculated carefully. Approximately 2,500 Jewish children had been removed from the Warsaw Ghetto through coordinated rescue. The boy was never alone in that effort. He was one nerve in a living body. He did not speak publicly for years. When he did, he minimized his role. He said others did more. He said he only followed instructions. He said courage was contagious. History eventually disagreed, not by elevating him above others, but by placing him where he belonged. Inside the truth that extraordinary outcomes are built from repeated, ordinary refusals to comply. And as the war closed, the story moved forward into aftermath, where survival demanded memory, and memory demanded meaning. When the war ended, Warsaw barely existed as a city. Ruble replaced streets. Silence replaced crowds. Survivors searched not only for family, but for proof that family had ever lived. In this landscape, the rescue of Jewish children from the ghetto took on its full meaning. The recovery of the hidden lists changed everything. Names written in code, buried beneath soil, now became bridges between past and future. Some children learned their real names for the first time. Others learned that no one remained to answer them. Survival brought relief, but also grief. Historically, the rescue of approximately 2,500 children stands as one of the most significant civilian-led operations of the war. It was not the action of one person, but of a network that included couriers, doctors, clergy, families, and underground organizers. The boy was part of this structure, shaped by it, and nearly destroyed by it. His survival itself was improbable. Many rescuers were executed. Others vanished without record. That he lived long enough to testify gave the story continuity. Without witnesses, rescue becomes rumor. With testimony, it becomes history. The significance of the operation lies not in defiance alone, but in method. It proved that organized compassion could function under total surveillance, that identity could be dismantled and rebuilt to preserve life, that children, often viewed as passive victims, could become the central reason resistance existed at all. After the war, recognition came slowly. Politics complicated memory. Some rescuers lived under regimes that discouraged independent heroism. Silence lasted decades. When acknowledgement finally arrived, it felt incomplete, unable to match the scale of what had been risked. The boy did not seek honors. He spoke rarely, carefully. When asked why he did it, he said he could not accept a world where doing nothing was safer than doing what was right. That explanation offered no comfort, only clarity. The historical weight of the rescue rests in that clarity. It reveals that even under systems designed to erase humanity, individuals and networks can preserve it at great costs without certainty of reward. And that understanding carries directly into the legacy that follows. The children grew up scattered across countries, languages, and identities. Some remembered fragments of the ghetto. Others remembered nothing at all. Their lives unfolded unevenly, shaped by absence as much as survival. The boy aged into a man carrying memories he never fully released. He did not frame his past as heroism. He framed it as obligation. He believed that once a choice presents itself, neutrality disappears. That belief followed him for the rest of his life. When recognition eventually came, it felt misaligned with time. Medals could not return childhoods. Ceremonies could not restore parents. But acknowledgement mattered, because forgetting would have been a second erasure. The legacy of this story is not comfort. It is responsibility. It asks whether ordinary people can accept extraordinary risk without expecting salvation or praise. It asks whether courage is something rare or something demanded by circumstance. The boy's actions did not end suffering. They interrupted it, repeatedly, long enough for lives to continue. That interruption became inheritance. Today, descendants of the rescued exist because someone young, afraid, and unarmed chose movement over safety. That truth resists simplification. It does not belong to one nation or ideology. It belongs to the moral record of humanity. History often remembers wars through battles and leaders. This story insists on another measure, that the value of resistance can be counted in children who lived, not enemies defeated. The boy did not save the world. He saved pieces of it, small enough to carry, heavy enough to matter, and that may be the most honest definition of courage history can offer. This is the history of World War II. Whoever oppresses the innocent is an oppressor. Neither the earth belongs to this oppressor, nor does the sky belong to him. We stand, now and forever, with the oppressed. This is WW2 Files. See you in the next one.